Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Bashem Kodash. Giving all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Bashem Kodash. Now with fun call Halalyam, La Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Bashem Kodash. Shalom to you, yoke fellow out there, you men that's in this truth, and the few sisters whose eyes are open to this truth. Shalom. I say unto you, Shalom. I had to steal that from Elder Malcolm. Anyway, I'm going to entitle this video, Learn Not the Way of the Heathen. Israelite men with long hair practice the way of the heathen. So I came across, and I put that, man, that word heathen, that word is in the scriptures over 100 times, over 150 times. And I'm reading some of these precepts, and I mean, you can make you can make one big lesson with it, or small lessons. You know, you got vocab that roll up and bring out scriptures on the Gentiles and the heathens, and which Gentile and heathen pretty much is the same thing. But there's two types of heathen, and there's two types of Gentiles. You have the Israelites who practice the way of the heathen, and then you have the actual heathen, which are the other nations. Anyway, this is from Jeremiah 10, verse 2. Thus saith Yahweh. So this is a commandment. If the Lord says something, that means it's a commandment, right? Learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Then it goes into one custom, which we understand this to be so-called Christmas. Well, guess what? You say don't celebrate Christmas, but you have men in Israel with long hair. Women are supposed to have long hair. What did the Apostles Paul say in 1 Corinthians chapter 11? Is it 1 Corinthians? I believe it's 1 Corinthians chapter 11. I may go to it. But anyway, I was watching this movie. This caught my eye. Troy, the director's cut full movie preview. And I just clicked it on. And right about the 50th second of a 9-minute and 31-second video, I noticed something, right? I don't know if you can see it. You got to go to this video. Matter of fact, if I remember, I'll leave it in the description box. This is Warner Brothers Entertainment. Troy, the director's cut, full movie preview, Warner Brothers Entertainment. This was put up a year ago. So what movie makers do, directors and producers that make these, especially these, they call them period pieces. Like you might make a movie on the Roman Empire, like the movie Gladiator. They had to get, and I believe it was, what's this guy? The famous director that directs these great epic period pieces. Can't think of his name. It'll come back to me. But he gets into a movie, and you think you watch a movie, and everything that you see, it looks like, you know, somebody jumped in a time machine and took a camera. Matter of fact, let me see if I don't know if this guy did it. Bear me for a minute. I can't think of his name. Okay, the director of this movie is Wolfgang Peterson. But what's this other guy? He made it, the movie The Kingdom of Heaven. He's known for making these period pieces. It'll come back to me. If not, just put it in the description. Anyway, I'm looking at this and I'm noticing this and I'm looking at it from a widescreen. This is 50, right? Let me come back. Let me come back over here. Okay. If you have any little knowledge on how movies work, and we should get into this, especially Possible Bar, he got all into the post production. I started getting into it. We don't really do that now. But anyway, the eyes of a director, you know what they see? They don't see thousands of men. They might see 40 men, right? 20 men, maybe 40 men. All this stuff is CGI, computer graphic images, where you take a group of men and you add to it. Because in this scene right here, there's no more than 40 or 50 men in the scene. Because they got to write a lot of checks. This is all computer graphic imaging. So I'm looking at the scene and it looks ancient, looks like you jumped in a time machine, and they got actual horses. They get historians to do the costumes and the shields, and everything got to be in a certain order. So now let me jump over here, right? So I'm watching it, I'm watching. Let me bring it over here. Okay, here you kind of see it, but look at this. Look at this guy over here. And this also proves that they were Jakes. They locked it up. They had the cornrows back then. Didn't Troy actually have cornrows in that movie? Let me see if I get a. Bear with me for a minute. Bear with me for a minute. Okay, here we go. This is the Edomite. He's trying to, roll it up, lock it up. Edomites can't lock it up like Jake. Okay, wait a minute. You notice he has long hair. I wanted to get and this scene right here with the giant right here. This scene gets you hyped up. This is a movie for guys who like movies. Okay, wait a minute. Look at this bullshit. I gotta watch this bullshit. Okay, he doesn't have. Let me bring this back. Okay, you see that long hair? Brad Pitt doesn't have long hair. Maybe once in a while you see him with long hair, but mostly I believe he has short hair. Certain roles he has short hair, but you can see that they had him go to the gym. They have these trainers that can build you up quickly. With the weights. You watch the movie 300. There's a workout called the 300 workout, I think it is, which gives you the 6-pack, the 8-pack. I used to have an 8-pack, brother. So you Jakes out there, they got 6-packs. I used to have an 8-pack. Not no more. But anyway, I'm pretty much the same weight I was when I was in after high school years. I was 170. Now I'm about at most 200. Anyway, you see the long hair. You see the kid with the long hair. So let me come back. See, long hair is a vain thing. See, this right here shows you that these were Jakes. You notice the beards. Wait a minute. They had the beards, right? These were Jakes. These were Spartan warriors. He had the beard. I believe I ran into this guy. It was either him or somebody, but I'm almost positive it was him. I ran into him in Greenwich Village years ago. I was doing a delivery. I think it was Apostle Gabar that was with me. I said, "Oh, there's a guy from Troy." but he had, regular street clothes. You see the man, he's a little bit older. They're older men. These are younger men. You can see the full beard. And I guarantee you, none of these actors have full beards. So they have to be, damn, I'm trying to think of the guy. You know what I'm going to do? Bear me for 1 minute. Bear me for 1 minute. Let me do this. Let me do this. Ridley Scott just came to me. Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott makes these period pieces, and at one time I thought this was Orlando Bloom. He's in it. He also plays in a lot of movies that Ridley Scott makes. That's the director's name. But this is the other guy, director Wolfgang Peterson. So he's another guy that makes. Matter of fact, you know what I'm gonna do? Let me go to Wolfgang Peterson. Jake, they're not good at making period pieces. All right, Wolfgang Peterson. All right, there he goes, old devil, German devil. Let me go to. I want to see his movies. Please bear with me. Wolfgang Peterson. All right, put it in movies. All right, Troy. Air Force One. The Perfect Storm. That was a great movie. This is the first DVD I got when I got a DVD player. The very first DVD movie, Poseidon. Let me see. He doesn't do a lot of period. Well, he goes, oh, that's Boat. That came out way back in the day. He only really did one period piece, which is Troy. So he had to hire historians. He had to hire, you know. Now let me do this. What was the other guy? The Kingdom of Heaven movie. Okay, Ridley Scott, right? Just bear with me. What is the director's name so I can click on it? Okay, Ridley Scott. Historical, right, period piece, epic, historical fiction, drama film, directed and produced by Ridley Scott. Normally, the producer is the guy that doesn't direct anything. He kind of got the money. He knows how to get the money. So let's go over here. They put in Ridley Scott movies. Ridley Scott movies. Okay. Let me open this up. Okay, he did the movie Gladiator, which is a period piece. He did the series on the Alien, the Prometheus. Okay, he did this movie, 1492, which is a great movie. There was two movies made on Columbus, the subject of Columbus. This one became the better. They were both good. I saw both of them. They came out around the same time. I made it a point to go see both of them. So he did some great movies here. Gladiator, and Gladiator, the king was actual Jake. Is this on? Okay, so this is on Netflix. You might watch that. Fubu TV. I think that's a free black. He did some great movies. This is another period piece, The Kingdom of Heaven. Oh, Robin Hood. He really got into putting this movie together. That's also on Netflix. Very good. He doesn't make winky dink movies. But anyway, let's come back over here. Where am I? Okay, Troy. This is the director, Wolfgang Peterson. And Jake, they're not good at period pieces. They'll mess up. They try to cut corners. And you got some good people that are historians watch the movie and they'll talk all kind of shit about it. But anyway, you see in the movie they got beards, right? They got beards because they're Spartans. Correct me if I'm wrong. Well, they have to be. They're Israelites. Because who wrote this story? Who wrote this play? This never took place. The movie Troy never took place. It was a play. It was a story written by Homer, Big Nose Homer. He was one of the seven sages under this tradition of the Socrates and the Aristotles. And it was Aristotle that raised up Alexander and the men that ruled Greece. So when you go into the history of Alexander the Great, Alexander the Greek, he spoke Hebrew, he read Hebrew, he followed the laws to the best of his ability. He was a Mo, so he was an Edomite. Esau can't help from being a Mo. Anyway, let's do this. Let's come back over here to the 50th mark. Let me get a better. So you see him, you open it up. He got a full head of hair. You can see the hair in the back of his head, the locks. You can kind of see this. See if I can get some better pictures. See, this is all CGI. They're not going to write 10,000 checks from people. They had the chariots, which they got from Israel. They got the spears at a certain the exact length of a spear. That the fighting style was called the phalanx, if I'm saying that right. But you see the beards. You see they all got beards. They all got beards. They had to stick with what happened. The historians tell you, no, they had beards. You got to make them have beards. And the shields are a certain length, and the spears, the lances, the arrows. So let me come back over here. Okay, so you can clearly see if you moved. I don't want to, I don't want to hit play because you know how YouTube get down. Look at that, braids, cornrows. His is longer than his. Look at this. Look at that. You see the braids. You can see the long braids. And long hair on a man is a vain thing. That's why men got it, for the galleys. So anyway, if you go to well, I did this in another video. If you go to what is that first? Let me do this. First Corinthians 11. You put in the word long. So when you say you're following the law, you're really not following the law. Doeth even nature itself teach you that if a man have long hair, it is a shame unto him. But if a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her, for her hair is given her for a covering. So now when you come over here and you go to I remember Apostle Bar used to have his hair long and he had a long earring, you know. And I used to tell him, you got to cut your hair. I didn't order him to cut his hair, but I said, you got to cut your hair, man. I said, that's vain. And then he finally cut his hair and he came to the realization, but he was young, that that's a vain thing. So let me come over here. Bear with me for a minute. And like I said, I did this before. And the reason why I'm doing this again is because I saw that clip from the movie. Let me see where I don't want to go crazy reading. Okay. Let me go. It's right here. Expositors Greek Testament. And see, a lot of guys, they'll justify it by saying, oh, I'm under the law of the Nazarite. You were not in the truth. You had long hair. You came in the truth. And oh, I'm under the law of the Nazarite. You didn't know you couldn't spell Nazarite before you came into the truth. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing. Okay. Okay. It says 1 Corinthians 11:13. The ground of the affirmative answer tacitly given to both questions. Does not nature of herself teach this? Yes. For if a man have long hair, etc., the common rendering is preferable. The teaching of nature is expressed in a double sentence which gathers the consensus gentium on the subject. You know what I got to do? I got to look that up in a minute. That in a man's case, if he wear long hair, it is a dishonor to him. But because you're vain, that's why the Greek warriors, the Spartans, they had the long hair. That was part of their customs, and it was part of their vanity. It says, but in a woman's, if she wear long hair, it is a glory to her. Stand in conspicuous antithesis, which is opposite, antithesis, preceding the conjunction what is discreditable in the one is delightful in the other. Discreditable in the one is delightful in the other. The woman, Homer's warriors. It is true. Wore long hair, a fashion retained at Sparta. Sparta. Because these were Israelites that were following the heathen customs. But the Athenians' youth cropped his head at 18. And it was a mark of foppery or effeminacy. Except for the aristocratic knights to let their hair afterwards grow long. This feeling prevailed in ancient as it does in modern manners. The case of Absalom, because Absalom was a vain individual. He was vain. That's why the Most High came against his father, David, and who put him to death? Joab put him to death because he was looking to kill his father. And his father didn't want him to die because he loved his father. And Joab said, fuck it, I'm going to put this nigga to death. And then I'm going to go back and then when he told David, your son, matter of fact, I should go ahead and get it. Let me go ahead and get it. All the girls love Absalom. He was considered the most beautiful man in Israel at the time, probably in history. And the Most High made him that way, you know? He was a vain individual. So let me do it this way. My son. Let me just put in my son. Let me do it this way. I'm sorry. Let's see how it comes up. Okay, boom, there it is. 2 Samuel 18, verse 33. And the king was much moved and went up to the chamber over the gate and wept. He cried like a baby. You know, with the sniffles when you were a kid. You stop crying if I give you something to cry about. And you sniffling. That's David was doing that. David was crying his ass off over this nigga. And as he went thus, he said, oh, my son Absalom. My son, Absalom. So in the Hebrew, he said, Bunya, Bunya, Abishalom. Bunya, Abishalom. Would God, if it be the will of God, I had died for thee. Oh, I wish I could have died in your place. Oh, Absalom, my son, my son. This is 2 Samuel 19:4. But the king covered his face, and the king cried with a loud voice, oh, my son Absalom, oh, Absalom, my son, my son. So he said, I wish I could have died instead of you, son. Your son, that nigga, that grimy ass nigga, was setting you up to take you from your position, even to the point of killing you. You know? But everybody loved him. Everybody, you know, the girls loved him. All the men wanted to be him so to speak. Okay, let me do this. Okay, I got to do it this way. Basically, he got caught up. His hair got caught up in some trees because he had that big fro. When he pulled his hair, cut his hair, and waited, it was when you I, I think it was came out to like six pounds or something like that, maybe even more than that. I did the math before. He had a lot of hair and it would grow quick. And that was a vain thing. That's part of the fact that he was a beautiful man. It said he was perfect. It said that there was no blemish on this man. Let me come up here. Let me go to 14. I think Joab reproves David's lament. He's like, "What the fuck you crying for, nigga?" It said, and it was told Joab, "Behold, the king weepeth and mourneth for Absalom." And the victory that day was turned into mourning unto all, because Joab pursued after Absalom. And when his head got caught up in the trees, um, what Joab did, which is an expert warrior, which by the way was relative to David. I believe he was his uncle, if I'm not mistaken, uncle or cousin. You saw him hanging there, and he kind of had that smile, like, "Got you, nigga." And he pulled out 3 dots with expert aim. He shot the dots in his heart. That shows you an expert in war. He pulled out the dots and took him out. He died. So here's David hearing about it and crying like a damn baby. And the victory that day was turned into mourning unto all the people, because everybody, "Oh no, Absalom, not Absalom, oh no." Because everybody loved him, because he was a vain nigga. For the people heard say that day how the king was grieved for his son. And the people got them by stealth secretly that day into the city, as people being ashamed still away when they flee in battle. But the king covered his face, and the king cried with a loud voice, "Oh, my son Absalom, Banya Avashalom, Banya Avashalom, my son." And Joab came into the house to the king and said, "Thou hast shamed this day the faces of all thy servants, which this day have saved thy life." Because his son wasn't going to stop until he killed his father and sat on the throne as king. "And the lives of thy sons." Because if you killed your father, one son kills their father, the other son's going to be looking to kill his ass. "And of thy daughters, and the lives of thy wives, and the lives of thy concubines." This guy was popping David's concubines, man. That nigga. I wonder who that nigga is today. Some say he's Yeshaya. "And that thou loveth thine enemies and hateth thy friends." So he got caught up in the vanity of Absalom. Long hair on a man is vain. So now where am I? You know what I'm gonna do? I want to breeze through these. Man, there's so many. I put the word heathen. Heathen. Let me do this. Heathen comes up 150 times in 145 verses. And I believe that's Well, it's in the Old and the New Testament. So I kind of went through some of them. We're just going to go through them quickly. The main one was Jeremiah 10, verse 1 or 1 and 2. Learn not the way of the heathen. Meaning do not do what the heathens do. One of the customs of the heathens was to have men having long hair. And the Apostle Paul said to the Corinth, which they were Greeks, they were Hellenized. So they were coming out of that Hellenization, but they still, kept the ways of the heathens. Some of them were popping other men's wives. They didn't understand the concept of adultery. Some of them were popping their father's wives or concubines. And there was a lot of things they were going. So, some of them put women as teachers. So the hardest church that Paul had to deal with, and they were saying, why the hell we got to help Paul? Why we got to help that nigga? So he basically say, F y'all, I'm going to teach you niggas any damn way. Because the church of Macedon had helped them, and other churches and people helped them. So, he basically said that men are not supposed to be having. The reason why he made that statement was because he noticed men coming up in there with this long hair, with the braids, they didn't have dreadlocks. They had cornrows. They had cornrows. So he was telling them, look, you ain't supposed to have long hair. And then in the next verse, when you go back to 1 Corinthians 11 chapter, it said, this is not a custom in any other churches. I'm merely paraphrasing. He said, the other churches don't do that. Why the fuck are you doing it? Because they're vain, like Absalom. So let me go through these precepts. It says, Leviticus 25, verse 44, both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen, other nations that are round about you, the other nations. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondwomen, which means slaves. You're going to get slaves from the other nations. 2 Samuel 22, verse 50. Therefore I will give thanks unto the Lord, thanks unto thee, O Yahweh, among the heathen, and I will sing praises unto thy name. Most High said in Amos 3 and 7, Most High will do nothing, but he revealeth his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. But he's not going to give us a name. Now you notice it says among the heathen, meaning Israelites are scattered among the other nations. The reason why you guys got long hair when you come into this truth, you stop eating pork, you don't follow Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving, and you don't worship on Sunday, but you keep that. There's certain things that you do keep of the heathens because it's vain. It said, but he walked in the way. And then I see guys, there's certain camps, I'll go through different videos. You see a guy with long hair, and then they're shaving on the side, like, right on the side of the front of the ear. It's like you can see that they're shaving, and you can see that they'll like get like a Fu Manchu on their beards. They'll shave certain parts of it, and then they'll tell you that they're Israelite, and they'll tell you to keep the laws. And that particular guy that I saw was not part of the IUIC, just so you know that. You got some guys, man, with long hair, but then they got cuts. That's a worldly thing. That's a worldly thing. But to justify it, I'm under the law of the Nazarene. And nigga, when you go to the Passover, you drinking wine with that long hair. You got to break the law of the Nazarene. The Apostle Paul did that. Second Kings 16, verse 3, but he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, and made his son to pass through the fire according to the abomination of the heathen. Yeah, because the Canaanites, they were burning their kids and they were burning certain women, sacrificing to the spiritual demon Satan, whom the Lord Yahweh has Lord cast out from before the children of Israel. That's why the Most High said, "Look, don't make any agreements, contracts with the Canaanites. Just kill them. Kill their babies, their mothers, their fathers, their aunties, their grandpas, their daughters, and their sons." This says pretty much the same thing. 2 Kings 17:11. And there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathen, the other nations, whom Yahweh carried away before them, and brought wicked things to provoke Yahweh to anger. Second Kings 21, verse 2. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh after the abomination of the heathen, whom Yahweh cast out before the children of Israel. So what the fuck is vocab talking about? Oh, at the end of the end, when everything's dead and said and done, he's really coming for the church, which are of other nations. He's really not with Israel. How stupid is that? Huh? How stupid is that? I was watching this video with Captain Tazariak with a WAC 100, and they were going up against some Faithful to God and some other guys, and they arguing about a woman could carry seed. There's a genealogy of the woman, which I would have got up. I would say, you know what? I would have unmiked me. Let me get the fuck up out of here. It says first Chronicles 16, verse 24, declare his glory among the heathen. What does that mean? Meaning who are among the heathen? The Israelites. His marvelous works among all nations, because the Israelites are among all nations. Second, I'll read a few more, then I'll close. Second Chronicles 36, verse 14. Moreover, all the chiefs of the priests and the people transgressed very much after all the abomination of the heathen. Anything that the heathens do is the Most High considers it an abomination. Men having long hair, the Most High considers that an abomination, among other things. So when Thanksgiving come up and the family invite you over, don't go. I'm not gonna. I don't celebrate that. You know, I don't celebrate that. And polluted. And if you did it in the past, Most High winked at you in your ignorance. You ask the Most High to forgive you and you move on. And polluted the house of Yahweh, which he had hallowed in Jerusalem. Ezra's in the scriptures, not the Apocrypha, 6 verse 21, and the children of Yasha'Allah, which would come again out of captivity, and all such as, and when you go into captivity under another nation, you know, when you leave, you're going to carry some of their customs with you, had separated himself unto them from the filthiness of the heathen, what they did of the land to seek Yahweh, the Most High Israel did eat. You know what I'm going to do? Let me do this. Get into a little bit more detail. Okay, where is right here? It's right here. And the children of Israel, which were come again out of captivity, and all such as had separated himself unto them from the filthiness of the heathen of the land to seek the Lord, the power they did eat. I may have to jump up. Let's see. Bear with me for a minute. You know what? Let me do this. Let me do this. Right? It says here, it speaks about the strange wives. You can have women of the other nation, but they can only be your concubines. Let me just do it this way. Bear with me for a minute. Okay, this is during the time period of that. It says then Darius the king made a decree, and search was made in the house of the rolls, which is the scrolls, the books, where the treasures were laid up, or where the treasures were laid up in Babylon. So they came out of the Babylonian captivity. They were in the Babylonian captivity for 70 years. The actual time, I believe, was 67 years. And what did they do? A lot of them were born into it. Got the Israelites going into captivity, having babies, and a lot of them were freed out of Babylon, with some of them being 65, 70 years old. Some of them dying in Babylon. And what did they do? A lot of them picked up those customs. So when you come out of that, you got to go. What Darius did, and then Cyrus did, they let them keep their laws, statutes, and commandments. When they were taken down by Alexander the Greek, they were allowed to keep their high holy days, speak Hebrew. And when Antiochus came in, he stopped all that. That's why when you go to the New Testament, and it speaks about the Gentiles receiving salvation, and the Greeks, the Jews first, and also the Greeks, is talking about the Jakes that were Hellenized. So they had to wake back up again into this truth. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.